March 5th. That'll be a Saturday. So we'll be doing a little bit
Awesome.
earlier at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is for Kelly 5 hours later. So,
Right.
we want to be accommodating to, all the women here. And uh, if any females are watching this and you are a woman in pool, we would like to have you on at some point as a guest, potentially as a guest. Um, and we have our panel, which is our panel, but we would love to have other women who would like to come in and talk and kind of be a per diem type as well. That's the reason that we ended up with as many as I had asked for to begin with. Sounds good now. Thank you very much, Andy. We appreciate it. Um,
It
so
can,
with that being,
people
what was
can
that?
hear now. People can hear now.
Yes.
Cool.
So, I mean, it all starts. So this isn't really an interview, but we talked about this when we did interview. How old were
Right.
you when you started playing?
Okay. So I started playing pool at 4 years old because my dad, yeah, I know it's crazy, but my dad was a professional and I watched him and I always wanted to hang out with him. I was a daddy's girl and I always played sports. So I was always around it, so it just was a natural thing for me to just eventually start playing and not just watching. But,
Right.
tonight our discussion is to talk about how young women, which hopefully, they are starting young. We're seeing that. We were just talking about that beforehand, these young girls playing and playing really great. And we're seeing more and more, you could call them child prodigies, right?
Right. Right. Yep.
And, and so what's the process? What do you do with that talent? Where do you go with that? Um, there's a few different ways I think that today we see young women approaching turning professional in this sport from the beginning. Um, Obviously, it's a very common thing now that people play on leagues, but we have a lot of junior stuff going on now that we didn't have, let's say, when I was growing up. And
That's
when
what I
Lori,
wanted to touch base on. Yes.
yeah, I mean, it's incredible what I see right now in the juniors. I think it's amazing. I think it's so wonderful, and we're seeing a lot of the boys and girls playing side by side and together at times too, which is really nice as well. And I think it's only going to grow the sport and make the women that much stronger coming up. To get exposed to not just playing with other women, but playing with men and young boys and so on and so forth. I think it's really beneficial. Because our brains do think differently. I know nowadays
Yes.
everything's becoming more and more where, oh, we shouldn't talk so much about gender, but I can't help it. Like, I am my age and I still feel like women, we have certain aspects of ourselves that are different from men.
Well, we are
We
different.
right? And we think differently. And I think
We
that,
do, and we express differently, and the patterns when we see things, the patterns are different. I mean, we're
right,
we're we're made for specific, we're able to do specific things, and
sure.
yeah, so um, you know, um, it is
So,
it's quite amazing actually. So and we LJ had touched on the base about the male to female ratio, and the dominance, but
right,
there are more. If you're looking now, I mean, there are so many more female pool players
right.
up and
There,
coming. I mean, April Larson, right?
yep,
Didn't she just get her
yep,
bachelor's, right? So we have
uh-huh,
April, Margaret, and now we have looking, like I said, at Sophia Mast and Savannah Easton, and
yep,
they're just getting younger and younger. I mean, and Savannah is like amazing. She plays guitar on top of it. I mean, she's
right,
she's not just a pool player.
right.
Can you
Not
just
one,
imagine at 17 what she's going
sure.
to be,
I
you know?
know. No, it's
So
remarkable. Wonderful
so
thing to see that.
what road would you suggest? And I'm going to kind of interject here and there too, but what road
Sure.
would you suggest? So, do you believe in that playing even is the way to go, or do you think that maybe in the very beginning, an APA type format is best, or do you think that that changes the mindset into thinking I need this handicap? Because that's this is really for another day. I wanted to really get into
Right.
this
I
and
think,
rule sets and
yeah,
stuff, but I want to know the thought pattern. Hi Carly, hi Russell, hi Robert, hi Steve, hi Andy from us. Um, so
I
yeah,
think that,
please.
yeah, I think that what I would like to see and what we are seeing in the juniors is more of, instead of, I don't love the idea of handicaps. I do, on the other hand, agree with dividing the juniors up by age, because when you do that, it helps in terms of a child's growing, right? They're a young person. Let's say they start at 5 years old. Let's say you have a division 5 to 7 year olds. Then you go from, let's say, just over 7 to 9 or 10 or so on. You could do it every 3 years, whatever it might be, but something along those lines to just break up the age bracket. And at that point, at that young age, I wouldn't separate boys and girls. I would let them play together. And that's just how I would like to see it. I think that's a good thing. And it's kind of like what I did growing up. I mean, there weren't really young, very young boys when I was playing, but they were still teenagers. And I was like 11, when I started really playing against other people in that way. And when I did that, my dad was running a billiard room in New York. And that was my home room at the time, from the time I was like 9 till I was 12. And during those years, I played against whoever was there. And it was never with a handicap. I
And
just played. I just played.
it didn't make a
And
difference what gender
no,
it was. It was just playing straight
basically,
up, and that was it.
yeah, basically it was just men, or like teenage boys or that type of thing, where I just played and I didn't even think twice about it. And my father just said, just play,
Right.
shoot, have a good time. And that was it. And that's how I learned how to compete in a competition, let's say. And then from there went into amateur events. And those amateur events were not like what they have today in terms of juniors. There were no juniors. When I won the National Amateur 8-Ball Championship in New York, I was playing against women that were at least 10 years older than me. I was
Right. So
13 when I,
10 years of experience, potentially 10 years of experience, or
right.
maybe even more.
Yeah, but taller than me, bigger than me. At 13, I wasn't the size I am today. I
Right.
still had more growing to do. I wasn't as physically strong as them, and certainly not as mentally prepared as they were, but it was a very good experience for me. And that was really something. And Lori John also, I know that she learned in the same manner. She didn't we didn't, there weren't many of us, right? There were not many of us. There were just a handful of us that could actually play this game and play pretty well. And today it's so different,
If you were to give a suggestion to so Robert has a he says that he likes handicap matches that can help. But if you could give, say, maybe for Robert, he's a player over in our California area, so I just wanted to shout out there. And I guess I think I
Robert.
said to Carly, I gave everybody a shout out, right? Yes. Thank you very much for the feedback. But if you could give some suggestions, um, so for instance, don't play for money, but play even. Uh, or some thoughts, because there's so
Like that. I like that. I was never really much of a gambler per se. I was a tournament player, and that's how I really always approached it. But I did play serious practice matches always, and I still do. And that's what I do today. Um, I don't, I think if you're going along the route of being a professional, and we what we think of as a professional, um, I don't I'm not against big challenge matches and that sort of thing for a promotion and where money is put up and so on and so forth. But the other aspect of it for a young person to start off by in a gambling atmosphere, I don't love that. I think it takes away from the professionalism of the sport. That's just me though. I mean, I know a lot of people
Right.
disagree with that, but I don't love it. I don't think that it's a necessary evil to getting better.
Right.
I think honing your skills is what makes you better.
Right. That's kind of the track that I'm really wanting to take. Um, there are hours and hours of dedication, consistency, and the mental game for me, I just have to put out there, is probably the biggest part, because you can drill and pocket and pocket and pocket balls, and I'm actually doing a little write up on this, but the mental game is so integral to winning. But so what I
No,
wanted to touch base on was, if you were to give three pieces of advice to somebody who's just starting, just say an APA 3, we're just going to
okay,
put that out there just so many
right.
can relate to that. Um, what would you say, if you want to play APA, but also make sure that you practice against other players. Don't play for money necessarily, but play for, the game, watch them, learn from them. What three pieces of advice would you say were most important for you to get yourself from 4 years old to where you were? I know you had to stop, and then coming back. That's another thing, that's a whole nother story. It's a whole
For
nother
sure.
show. But
Oh yeah,
please,
no doubt.
three pieces of advice to help
Yeah.
the women.
Okay. First and foremost, if let's say, because you use that number, a 3 in the APA, if you're at that level, I would 100% look for the best possible instructor in your area and approach this as a real sport, which it is, because it's not just mental, it's physical. And I would get the most solid instruction I possibly could early on, because it's much easier to learn right from the beginning than it is to redo and undo bad habits, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that is crucial to get your fundamentals squared away from the beginning. Because if you're rock solid with your stances, your bridges, the way you what I like to call get into the batter's box, which is meaning step into a shot, and your pre-shot routine. And if you can have all of that really, really strong and down pat from the beginning, you are going to have such an easier time improving and seeing where your talent really will go. Because if that's strong, then you're going to see how many hours do you have to dedicate to this and how serious you really are. Look, understand, like young people, I say this all the time because my son took the route of he's now 27, but he took the route of playing golf, and he was a scratch golfer through high school. And he learned how to play golf from a pretty young age. I think he was like 10 or 11 when he started. And it was all about the fundamentals. And if you start with that strong base and you're able to get good instruction where you are, then you're really, really, really starting ahead of the curve for yourself. But understand, young people, let's just, as an example, a young girl starts out 10 years old. Parents see she has just great natural ability. They put a cue in her hand. They show her how to hold it. She just naturally steps into the shot right. She has a good natural line of aim. Wonderful. Okay, she's 10 years old. So she's for 2 years. She's super excited. She can't wait. They have a table in their house, in their basement maybe, or in their family room or den. She can't wait to come home and play and hit balls. Oh, she's so excited after school. Her friends come over. She's beating all her friends. Everything is great. Everything looks good for 2 years. Now she turns 13. Now guess what? Guess what?
Joanne's breaking up.
Can you hear
Breaking
me?
up? Oh, you're breaking up to me.
No, I
Okay,
can hear you.
go
Okay.
ahead. I'm sorry.
So now she turns 13. Now guess what happens?
What?
Hormones. Hormones happen. And
Mm.
now what
I had
she
a
used to
guess on
come
that one.
home, she used to come home and so excited after school. She couldn't wait to practice. She's so excited to do it. Now there's this boy down the block who's 14 and he comes knocking on the door and she's distracted. This is normal. This is normal for young people, right? So when we say about, well, we have all these young people, boys and girls, in all different fields and all different sports that are excited. They're excited to go play golf, or they're excited to play pool, or excited to go play tennis. Then these other factors come into play, and we see how focused can they remain. So what's going to happen
So basically,
is
so the first part was the fundamentals, and now we're talking about keeping a focus and eye on the game rather than having the distractions around you.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
So
And there's
so
other things that happen too, not just, the
right.
boy girl
So
or whatever. But then so that will eliminate some people from going to that next level to try to attempt to become a professional.
right. So what that yeah, so at 14, you basically find boy, you find girl, and that will potentially distract you from your goal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Then, then you'll have your handful that will get washed away because of that. And then you'll have that other core group that will continue on, and they will continue to hone their skills, and they'll be lucky enough to find somebody good who can coach them and really give them a push up. I had my dad. I was lucky. It was right there for me.
Right.
Lori John also, she had her dad right there for her. Ava, she came from Sweden and she played from the time she was pretty young. But when she came over to America, she met her husband almost right away, Jimmy Mattia, who was a professional player.
I think that Allison
Well,
also had her father with her for a majority.
did Allison? I wasn't
I
familiar
think
if
that she
Allison
did.
or
Yeah.
not.
Every time I talk, she cuts out. I just want to let you know so we can fix this. Like I said, we had a problem in the very beginning, so sometimes I can't hear. Just me
Well,
personally.
that's just that's the way it is with
So I'm not trying to.
You're good.
Okay. Yeah, so a lot of people they have fundamentals, find a coach, and remain focused are the 3 pointers that you would
That's the big deal. The remaining focused part, after, if you have a coach and you have somebody who's going to be in your corner and help you, it may not only be one person, a handful of people that are around that can aid in maybe this particular person. I mean, I've had people now during my comeback I've had so many people helping me along the way right now. I can't even tell you. Helping me to remain focused, helping me to be able to practice, and doing so many things for me just to keep me motivated as well. Give me that kick in the butt that I need sometimes.
right.
But you are people.
Well, so we're starting off. So these just say the juniors are where they are, and like you said, you didn't have the opportunity for BF or other routes to take, and you were lucky enough to have somebody who was there. For those who don't have it, a boys and girls club might be a good place
Definitely.
to
Sure.
potentially
Look, Gloria, if let's say in their area, wherever they are living, let's say they're in a more remote area today, it's so different than it was when I started out. You can go right online today. And if you're really, really serious and you're really interested and you really love the game, you can learn so much just from YouTube. Darren Appleton is such a great example of this. He has his channel is amazing. I love his stuff. I think what he shows is so awesome. And I've done a bunch of his drills, and I think some of his stuff, and he talks about the level of player, talks about the Fargo rate and the quality of player, who should do it a certain way, use a rail or don't use a rail if you're at a
Yes,
certain.
his stuff is good too. Andre Sharavari, another one.
Uh-huh. Okay. I mean, there's a bunch of good people
And
out
then
there.
yeah, Lil Chris is good because
Yeah,
he's geared
I
more toward the lower class, like the APA.
right, right. But you can learn so much from watching, and there's just so much out there. There's so much out there that wasn't always out there. I mean, I'm just looking in my little cabinet here, and I have a few books. I have Steve Miserak's book on pocket billiards. I have a book here by Jimmy Karras. Bob Burns, who I loved, who I learned so many trick shots from Bob Burns. I can't even begin to tell you. I did an exhibition years and years ago when I was working for Old House, and they had Pool Room out in, I think it was San Francisco. And he was so generous of himself, and he was very sweet and very complimentary of my show. And he showed me a few things afterwards, and that's what young people need when they're growing up. They need the generation that a couple of generations ahead of them to take them under their wing and help them. And I think the biggest thing I could tell a junior today, any young person, man, a girl or a boy, is really understand in the beginning that you know almost nothing. That's the most important thing, because if you know you don't know much, you'll suck it up. And you won't think you know everything.
Agreed. Yes, I can't hear you, but right now because I'm talking, but I agree with you 100%. 100% there. We had a couple of questions. We have some thank yous to talk about the mental game. Oh, Lil Chris, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, Lil Chris, to me, I started watching him talk about books. I have a book, I believe, by Ava and Phil as well. Joe Tucker, he's here in Rhode Island. I never got the opportunity to go past the 17, 18-year-old mark, unfortunately. Me personally, I had family issues where I needed to take care of my mother. It's been kind of lifelong. And if you have to choose something, for me, that's my choice. Hey, Todd, how are you? Taught myself with those as well. That's Kyle Boutte. Yes, Todd Nevins. Hey, Todd. Professional billiard instructors all over the country. Yes, so he's talking about PBIA instructor Steve Jennings.
Right.
Yep. Yep. Agreed. To just about everything on here. So Joanne's route is basically, if you have an instructor, she said she was lucky enough to have her father, but have somebody who can teach you, and you can just, like she said, you can go online. You could even look up an instructor online if you want to go to the PBIA area. You could look up an instructor there.
But I just want to add something. I don't want to forget to say this. I think this is really important. When a young person is coming up and they're playing and they're starting to play and they're playing these more competitive matches, I think that it's something that my dad did with me, which is very important. At every level that you reach, it's very important to play a lot of matches that that you're the favorite. And then it's also very important to play matches that that you're not the favorite.
Yes.
So what you don't want to have happen are two different things. You don't want to just play people that you can destroy and have no hard punch back. And you don't want to only play people that are going to destroy you, because you don't want to ruin your confidence. So there needs to be a balancing act going on at all levels, at every stage of your career, as you're growing, right? And hopefully we all try to continue to improve. And that's been my route now over this last year and 3 months. that I'm trying to get better. I am trying to improve my game, and that's what I've been working hard on. And that's what I've been doing, you know, and I have sparring partners that have helped me so much with this. And I challenge myself. And I also know it's important that I also need to play people that that I know I can get the better of, and I have to really put them away and keep that focus to do that. So that's a balancing act of knowing and having somebody around who can help you with that, to be able to say, no, don't step into this match. This isn't a good match for you right now. You've lost a few matches already. I want you to play somebody that's a more even match where you can really sink your teeth into it and really get some confidence going here. Because look, like you said, Gloria, this game is so mental, and you don't want to get, you don't, especially a young person coming in, you don't want your heart to
give up.
Lost.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. So
I'm going to add something to that. You know, we all know that I'm not a professional billiard player. I'm barely an amateur. But we were talking about, you know, playing people who were equal, who were better. A thing that I would highly suggest, and this is just me and from my journey, okay, from the journey that I've been blessed enough to have, is when you get on that table, and like I said, you know, you look up, Joanne was saying, you know, look up people on the internet, make sure that they have, you know, great fundamentals. And that's something else that I wanted to also mention. Those two things about me, about my thoughts on this. But the first thing is, a player will go on there, and everyone has ego to a degree. So when you're talking about beating somebody over and over, I agree with that. When you get on the table, I want to say it's so important not to just practice the shots that you know that you can make, but to practice the shots that give you the greatest difficulty or that you know would be important. So just say that you're really good at bottom right. Practice top left, because you're going to need it at some point. So don't just practice what you're good at, but practice what you're not good at. Make a 70-30 rule, something of that nature.
Definitely. No doubt. Absolutely. I will tell you, I have students, and I always instruct them, practice the uncomfortable and the awkward, because 9 out of 10 times, any given match, those shots are coming up. You have to shoot, that you'll be forced into shooting. I never leave a practice without throwing out all 15 balls and putting my cue ball on the rail, all different positions on the table, all different shots. I shoot at least 15 shots like that before I'm done with my practice, every practice. I'll also do another 15 of bridging over balls and making those shots.
I had poor position play. I could pocket pretty much anything, which is how I got my name. Be able to pocket almost anything at a young age. However, my position play was just atrocious. So I remember watching them one time, and because I was never taught anything, but I remember watching them, and they showed me a napkin. They had the napkin open, and I watched them playing to get back on the napkin. They made it smaller and smaller and smaller until they were able to do that with a napkin. And that was one of the things that I watched, and I was like,
that's
wow.
what I do.
You do it?
I put that in the square of that. It's very high technology, Gloria. Shh, don't tell too many people about that.
All right. We are gonna have to cut this. Ancient secrets.
This is one of the things. Like, if you have no time at all, here's another great tip for the amateur players. You know, the young juniors coming up. If you're getting to your match, and you only, let's say, have one rack of balls that you're allowed to hit before you have to start your match, shoot all different shots and get your cue ball to center all different ways, because that's going to give you the speed of the table. Do it one rail, do it using 2 rails, and use it doing 3 rails. Find center table, because once you can get to center, you can be a little bit here or there from center. You'll be able to have a good feel on the table and have that speed control. That's huge.
I want to jump in here for a quick second. Todd Nevins asked the professionals. Oh, join. Did your dad Harvey, and then we're gonna go to another question. So we'll answer this quickly. Did your dad Harvey play kind of sidearm?
Oh, a tiny bit. I think a tiny bit. I played a lot sidearm growing up because I played since I'm 4. I wasn't like Lori John's dad. My dad let me grow into the table, and people are going to see now as I'm playing again. I've completely revamped my whole setup at the table. I don't play sidearm anymore. Over the last 8 months, I changed. First 3 months, I practiced as hard as I could, reached a wall. And I said to myself, I said, something's got to give here. You're not getting any better now. Something's got to change. And over a lot of years, when I wasn't playing, I played a lot of golf. And because of the golf play, I learned a lot about mechanics of your physicality at a sport. And pool, I did always very naturally because I'm playing it since I'm little. I was a prodigy I ran a rack of balls at 5 years old on a bar table. That's an amazing thing, right? But I didn't exactly understand my mechanics completely because I really didn't need to. I was just so natural at making balls. But I said to myself, now coming back, I have to change things. Something's got to give. And when people see me playing now, they can see my arm is perfectly straight up and down. My chin is on my stick. It wasn't always as low. Now it is. And my cue stick is guided at the side of my chest. So I have a lot of guides happening here. I just spoke with CJ Wiley about this whole big change that I made in my setup. And also the way I step into the shot is a little bit different than it used to be because I'm not coming from the side anymore. I'm coming more straight on. So that's made me better. And that's a big deal, Yeah, but like he asked, my dad's a tiny bit side on, tiny bit.
Okay.
But that's his general too.
So NJ came in and he said Joanne Mason was driven at a young age. Her dad Harvey was always there by his side. And he remembers from High Q a lifetime ago. Tough cookie.
Wow.
Keep up the good work. Oh, for me too. Okay, thank you very much, NJ. Mark White, nice apartment by the sea, Gloria. Thank you very much. I wanted to make believe that I was in Florida with Joanne. That was tonight's theme. Don't practice until you can make a shot. Practice until you can't miss a shot. Great advice. I love that, Andy. Definitely. CJ, a touch of it. TOI, touch of inside. Yeah. So I mean, I really want to really touch so much on the mental game because it's not just about being a prodigy or once the mental side of things go, everything else just falls apart. And I'm writing this little blog about, I'm just going to use this as an analogy. Hey, Darren Hamilton's on here. You're very welcome.
Hey.
WVA, yeah. So anybody that's out there, if you're practicing and you're saying left, right, right?
Okay.
But you're trying to go left, right, but you're doing it with the opposite foot. How difficult is that going to be, Joanne?
Yeah.
Right?
You know what? I can I just interject for a moment? I wanted to say something because we're talking so much about the mental side of this.
That's where I was going with this for sure. Yeah.
Right. So I have students who will, they'll be so upset when they miss what they consider to be a relatively simple shot. So I will then ask them, I'll say, well, may I ask how many times do you think in your life have you shot this ball? Do you think you've shot it 100 times? And they'll say, oh yeah, I've shot it 100 times. I said, do you think you've shot it 200 times? Maybe. Do you think you've shot it 1,000 times? And they'll say, no, I haven't shot it 1,000 times. And I'll say, well, then you have not been playing long enough to have earned the right yet to be upset that you missed. So now you get a total pass. You never need to be upset with yourself. I, as your instructor, will let you know when you have worked hard enough to have earned the right to be upset that you missed. So now the pressure is off, right? There's no reason to be upset. What are you going to be upset for? Are you going to be upset with a baby who can't walk yet and falls down? It's the same thing. The same thing. So when I say it to my students, they laugh and they realize how silly it is really that they shouldn't berate themselves. They shouldn't call themselves names or things like this. They just have to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, so what did I do wrong?
Right.
Now we're going to try to fix. Stay focused. Stay focused on the do. Stay in the now and concentrate on the how.
Yeah, so there's two parts to that, and the two parts is and that's where so first and foremost, give yourself a break and talk to yourself the way you would talk to your best friend.
Yes, be nice.
Yes, be self-compassionate. And that will really help you. Think about what you would say to your best friend during a critical time, and talk to yourself. It's really a conversation with the universe.
Right.
But going back to the left, right, left, if you're saying left, 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 right, left, and you're actually following that, your mind and your memory and your leg and what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I remember this. It's like doing a specific way. And where I'm going with that is when you're down on a shot and you're looking and you're thinking to yourself, should I take this straight up or should I cut this in the side? And you are unsure and indecisive. Your mind is saying left, 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 right, left, but your arm is not convinced of your feet aren't convinced of what's going on. You're not in sync with your mind and your arm. And that is really what causes you to miss a lot of the shots. I can tell you,
right? Not making an actual decision.
Not making a decisive, clear decision is what will cause you, because you're not sure what you're doing when you're down. You're not 100% solid. There's reservation, and when there's reservation, your mind and your body are not in sync. Muscle memory cannot do what it wants to do when it's not understanding what's going on. That's something that I personally learned on my own, and I always use the left, right, left analogy on that in my head.
Yeah, that's good. Gloria, I think that any decision you make at the table, whether it's a right choice or a wrong choice, let's say there are 3 different ways to go approach a particular shot that you're about to face. And let's say number 1 here is the best choice, number 2 is second best, and number 3 is third best. All right. It's better to choose even number 3, that's the third best choice, but you're definitely committed to it, versus picking number 1 and you have reservations about it. Because if your mind, like you're saying, if your mind has decided, this is the way I'm going after this ball, I'm going to draw back on this shot, I'm confident, I have a good draw stroke, this is what I'm doing. Even if you really should have gone forward and gone around the table a different way, you're still ahead of the game because you're confident in your decision and you've made a decision.
Right.
That's huge. That's
and you're
huge.
more likely to stay at the table that way. Even if the next shot has to be a safe play, you still have control.
Yeah. Look, and understand, these sorts of things happen less and less as you get better and better at the physical game. But don't think that the greatest players in the world still don't face these moments, because they do. They do. We see it all the time. I can go right now on YouTube and I could pull up a video of Shane Van Boening against Earl Strickland missing, having ball in hand. How does it happen? You say to yourself, this guy's one of the greatest ever to play this game. And yet you can watch it happen. It's for everyone to see. It's right there in plain view. It happens because he wasn't, one of the greatest of all time did not decide what he really wanted to do. That's the only way that happens. then he misses something, right?
Or he did not give the respect to the shot that needed, because it's an easy shot, but things can go wrong, miscues can happen, you know. So
Hiccups.
giving respect to that shot, just as you would a more difficult shot, is just as important. Sometimes the
But you
table,
could see, right, but you could even see the body language at times with
yeah,
players when you know that the nerves are maybe taking hold. And when nerves take hold, it deteriorates the mind.
yes,
And then that deteriorates the physical of what's going on at the table.
yeah, yeah,
So no,
absolutely.
we're human. We're human. We're not robots.
Right, right. No,
And
I fully agree. So we've been on 43 minutes. And then the initial, again, everybody, thank you so much for stopping in. But uh and a shout out to everybody who came out to watch this. We were trying to get shares, so if you guys could share this, that would be absolutely great. We would appreciate it so much. Because we really, really want to grow here, and the ladies are great examples. Joanne, Lori, John, Allison, Kelly, gosh, whom I know, I'm missing someone. Whom I'm
Ava,
missing?
Ava,
Ava.
Ava.
How could I forget Ava? Oh my gosh, I'm in so much trouble. I'm in so much trouble. These are great examples for the 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 children, the juniors, especially the female players, but any player,
Yeah, anybody.
to
Absolutely.
follow,
Yeah.
and hear what she's saying, because she's she's been there, you know. You of course want to follow in the footsteps of somebody who has been there, um and gone through the challenges. And the last time we talked a little bit we're not going to do it now, but we talked a little bit about what it's like to have to be a woman and breastfeed in between your matches. So there are things that women have to go through that men don't necessarily. We're not trying to be sexist here about it. We're just speaking facts. That's a fact.
Just candidly.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being
Gloria, I think you're
open.
awesome. By the way, I want to tell you, you don't get enough credit for all your hard work. And I want to tell you, and I
Aw.
know how hard you work, and you're such a sweetheart. And I love your passion and how you want to grow the sport. And I just think you're awesome.
Thank you, and I feel the same.
Thanks. Yeah, this was a
Thank you
lot of
so
fun.
much. Yeah, hopefully we do grow. I mean, we want to touch on more subjects. We touched a little bit on, and I think we're gonna need to, just structure this a little bit better. This is a baby, and
Yeah,
we're gonna get into our we just have to go through some, I don't want to say
yeah,
growing pains, but it's the truth.
yeah.
Respect to the
I,
shot and crucial work. The Monk Miller. Yes, Monk is very good too. Yep. Rest in peace.
I
Um,
like, I love the idea of people writing in questions as we're live and being able to answer live questions.
yes, me too. Me too.
That's
Oh,
really
thank you, Robert. Yeah, I feel as though this is just I feel as though, you know, um maybe I'll come up with something that's really, really important. If anybody has questions, or if you want to hear about a particular subject, from especially a woman's perspective, um, please send me what your thoughts are, on a topic that you would like us to discuss, that you think would be helpful to not just women, but men as well. We want to grow women in pool, but we also want to be able to reach we want to reach the world. We want this to be something that's global. Um, uh, and coming from uh, um, somebody who has multiple titles under her belt, uh, and all the other amazing women and trailblazers here on the show. You know, I'm just honored that they said yes to coming on here. In all honesty.
Well, your enthusiasm is contagious.
Thank you, Joanne.
That's what I think.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. It's great.
So what is that?
So it's going to be so good because we're just going to keep talking and people are going to write in and they're going to have questions and we're going to get into more the meat of things. And I think tonight actually was very good. I think there was a lot of good information put out there for people.
Yeah. I mean, you gave your top 3 things to do. I would have to definitely agree. Number 1, fundamentals, but you know, we have females of all sizes who maybe may not get past 5 foot, and their system, their aiming system, their stance, their fundamentals are going to be different from someone who is just, we're just using this 6 foot. So a female who's 6 foot tall,
Sure.
you know,
That's right.
so you're not going to, yeah, you're not going to have the same fundamentals. You might not be able to stand the same way. Your legs may be further apart. So when people say, oh, this has to be this way, this has to be this is made, it's kind of like almost like this perfection of what a model should be. You know, she should be 5'9", blonde hair, blue eyes, and you know, perfect skin. That's not true, you know, and it's not true with pool. You're going to have different fundamentals for different people. You're going to have different feels. You're going to have different abilities due to frame, mindsets, mental strength, physical endurance, health. There are so many things that's multifactorial. So don't beat up on yourself. And that's really important. A question for next time: why do WPBA players most of the time take the safe, high percentage shot over an aggressive shot like a pro male may take? Ooh. All right, so Guy Young and others take that offensive shot to rise to the top because of those decisions. Ooh, now Todd, I've known you 10, 11 years. I think that we are going to have to discuss this privately. I think we need to screenshot that, and I'm definitely going to send that out to the women. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And that's all I'll say. Jasmine Ocean's another more aggressive player, but I don't know. Guy Young Kim also comes from, so we have Allison coming from a background of snooker. I can't think of her name. Karen Kaur, snooker. So Guy Young Kim comes from three cushion. I almost on my three cushion shirt tonight. But everybody comes from a different background, different place. So what is it? Chen Siming, because I believe it's backwards, right? Siming
Right.
Cheng.
Siming
So,
Cheng.
all right. So she's you could say that maybe she's more of an aggressive player, but I don't know if it's. This is something I think we need to discuss, Joanne. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is something I could really break down very quickly. There's a ratio in a school of thought to how aggressive a person should play, depending upon the level of the other opponent that they're playing. The weaker the person you're playing, and the more high risk shots you take late in the rack, the more you put that lower level player in that game. So if you end up with a 50-50 shot on, let's say, the 7 ball, and you're playing somebody that if they end up with a pretty easy shot on the 7, that's the only way they could really beat you, you're not going to shoot that ball. Understand that. That's common sense tells you that would be a wrong choice. But you would rather play a good safety, hopefully get a snooker on that person, get a ball in hands, or they'll sell out. That's the way you're going to win that rack more often than not. So it's kind of silly I don't know if he really even formulated his question correctly.
Well, he also said not too many WPBA players take the table length shot. Yes, Karen, Allison, and Kelly are a few that will. Smaller packages are run by women. Why? Because women don't usually take that shot to continue. Now, I just want to stick up for Todd because he may seem a little, I don't want to say condescending, but he's not that type of person because
No.
I know him on a personal level. But yeah, we're definitely going to talk about this at some point, Todd. So continue to tune in, and then we're going to have you play Joanne.
Let's go.
I might even set up that virtual tournament myself.
Sounds good.
All
Bring
right.
it.
All right. So yeah, so there are some, like I said, there are a lot of things. And you know what? I think I'm gonna go shoot some pool myself and
There you
not
go.
do so great. And I think I'm gonna go back to my fundamentals now, Joanne, because we talked about this. Not
Good.
at all. I agree with Joanne. Have a great night. So, Todd, no, Todd, you're not off the hook. um,
Todd, what level? What's Todd? Wait a minute. Todd, what level do you play?
Todd was, you know, a good solid B.
Okay.
So I don't know,
Okay, what, Todd? You're gonna be
5,
frozen
6.
up a lot of balls.
Oh boy.
That's
What is
what
that,
that's-
Joanne? Joanne says the orange. She's gonna give you the orange crush. Is that what I'm hearing? Joking. All right. All right. So everybody, thank you so much for viewing with us again. As I said, I really may go over. I'm a little dry with my water here. Can you actually see it? I have some in the background, but I can't drink it. Nor would I. It's seawater.
That's just-
But we'll be back. And we'll be back with Allison and Kelly, and that's going to be March 5th. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Joanne, for being on tonight, and Ava and LJ, we miss you, but we know that you're going to be back. And I think that there's a lot now. I think we're just starting to get into it, because now it's becoming a little the questions are rolling in. Well, why women, why? So
There we go.
it's on now.
That's it.
All right. And shout out to our sponsors. I want to say thank you to all my sponsors, in particular my title sponsor, I Want Simonis. Joanne, please.
Navigator, Blue Impact Custom Cues. Thank you so much. In the Zone Sportswear.
All right. All right, everybody. We will be talking to you soon. Have a wonderful night, and we'll be seeing you with some interviews on I Want Simonis Ride the 9 Tour page coming up, and the interviews are going to be a lot of fun. We have Kaylee McIntosh coming up.
Nice.
Yeah. And some others, both male and female. So some great surprises. And I may even want somebody around. I may even have a little somebody with me, but we'll see what happens. So have a wonderful night, everybody, with my Minnesota goodbye. And we will see you March 5th. Stay safe.
Bye, guys. Bye, Gloria. Thanks again.
So long,
Bye.
So long.